Yeah, I'm seeing live, so I
Yep.
think we're good.
Yep.
Yeah, it says preparing for live stream, set up your meeting. Did that earlier today when I was going to Zoom. I grabbed the wrong account. Keep forgetting it's town of Newcastle. All right.
Yeah, I'm seeing live, so I
Yeah.
think we're good.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
Yeah, it says preparing for live stream, set up your meeting.
Yep, we're good.
Did that earlier today when I was going to Zoom. I grabbed the wrong account.
I'm hearing feedback.
Town of Newcastle.
Yeah.
Let me mute that one. It brings up the YouTube screen too, so. All right, so at 7:04, we'll call our meeting to order. And do we have any amendments? Anybody would care to make?
Do we put the warrant first?
Yes. Yeah, I will. Get that out of the way. Is there anything else? Then we'll jump to the minutes from August 10th.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Thank you, Wanda. Any questions on it?
Yeah, I had a couple of comments. One on the second page, the paragraph, an additional topic explored, so on. That section ends that says the BOS consensus was reached regarding the long-term goal to have the segments of the LUO become separate ordinances. I think it was more that we decided to break it apart right now, not as a long-term goal. So I would say the Board of BOS consensus was to make segments of the LUO become separate ordinances. I thought that was more what we talked about.
All right. Did you have anything else?
And then in the next part, the timing, number 2 timing, ends with BOS reached consensus that September 29th does not work for town meeting. I don't think we
No, we
came
haven't.
to that consensus.
No, I don't think we did. Because it's still in my notes. All right. Anything else?
That was-
I think it was the fact that the referendum vote was we decided not to do a referendum vote on that
A
day.
separate referendum vote, right?
And I think that's the thing. But yeah, what we were exploring was the idea of doing a town meeting, a special town meeting.
All right. Anything else?
That's all I had.
Yep.
All right. All in favor? Passes 5-0. We'll move on to the town warrant. I don't know if you guys saw the one Shelley sent. It's the amount of $239,761.51.
Move it.
I'll second
Second.
it.
Thank you, Joel. All right, any discussion? Oh, all in favor? That passes 5-0. All right, let's move on to 5.1, core zoning timetable discussion. What are we thinking, guys? I don't know if we can make a town meeting for September 29th. If you look at John's timeline he sent us.
Well, I think, I mean, obviously the timeline and the method are intertwined. And looking at the language, either the original language or the revised language that Ben just sent, I think it'd be really challenging to ask people in a referendum vote who aren't heavily informed to make a decision based on that language. And I think we need that language, or something similar. So I think I'm inclined to try for September. A bigger issue that I've sort of been thinking about is whatever happens, whether it gets approved or fails again, This is a process that will continue. We know that if it passes, that we're going to have people continue to work on it, both the core code and the chapters we're breaking out. We've already talked about how shoreland is going to be something that gets worked on. If it fails, we know the town has development pressures. We know that the existing land use ordinance is not acceptable long-term. So we know we're going to continue to work on it. So I think we need to try to get it in front of the voters. And if it's in a special town meeting and it gets voted down, we can say, okay, why? What was it? Why did you vote no? And then that will give us our marching orders going forward. So I'd argue, let's try to do a special town meeting on the 29th.
Oh,
Hey, Joe.
I would say that question after the last referendum vote was sort of the biggest question that we had and never got answered. How do you get people to say why they voted no? And it's really hard to do with a referendum, because what do? You invite people to come back out and say what the reason that they voted no. I mean, it doesn't work, and especially like this. And I think again, I think the weather's with us, and I think the timing's with us. I think the document's there, and we have the benefit of, if we approve this, if this code is approved in September, we have time to start working with it and looking for things that might need some tweaking, especially since the world has changed with COVID, the pressures have changed, and we can this. It's always going to be amended. There's always going to be changes that need to happen. And I think, again, it's that format that we're approving that makes all that stuff possible. And I think it's important to start this process for making amendments to this document, henceforth, and not do it referendum style, but do it town meeting style, so that it can be explained and discussed and questions answered and then voted on. So I think we've got some good options for doing that.
You don't think we could accomplish that in a public hearing? If we did a live public hearing, the same format you're thinking about?
If we did it and then opened it up to voters who haven't participated in that open hearing, then we've lost the whole purpose of the exercise, which is to let an informed voter decide what they how they feel about something.
My concern is we're probably going to have well over 1,000 people that cast ballots in November. And, even if we do an awesome job of, public hearing and trying to do everything we can do to get word out and inform people, we're not going to get to 1,000 people, or at least they're not going to understand it. So the way I see it is there's going to be an incredible majority of people that see this ballot for the first time on November 3rd and see that question and say, what is this? And either they're going to be just ignore it or vote for something that they just had very minimal information on. So I think that I'm in favor of the 29th. I think we can do it. And I think I'd rather have a small group of people that are there that can engage a discussion on this, and we can explain exactly what they're voting on in person, and have a group of informed people make this vote than a vast majority of uninformed people. So I think we can do it. I think, yeah, there's some work to be done between now, the next few weeks. But, I've got ideas about that too, if we, when we get to that point about how do we actually engage people for information.
Wanda?
So I think if we look at experience and we look at what happened 2 years ago, it was a referendum vote, a huge turnout, governor's race. And I think just what Thor just said happened. People came to the polls, they didn't even know one way or the other. The other thing that happened is in that last week, we all got blindsided with some stuff in the paper that we had no time to answer those questions for people. So that's what people had fresh in their mind when they went to vote. And we had no time, where at least at a special town meeting, if people bring up those kind of concerns, we at least have the option of trying to explain to them why that's either true or not true, whatever their concerns are, which we did not have last time. I mean, people went to the votes with those last few things, fresh in their mind, and, it went down in a blaze of glory. And I don't think we want to see that happen again. I think if you put it up to that many voters, we are putting ourselves up for risk for failure, which I think all Newcastle citizens have the right to vote on this, but they all have the right to come to a special town meeting if they choose to. So it's really their choice, where when you're bringing them into a presidential election, they're there for another reason. They're not there solely to look at a code. They're there to vote for a candidate, and we are just going to be a product of what they happen to think at the moment, whether they know about it or not. So I'm definitely for a special town meeting. I definitely, September 29th seems like really quick to me. It seems like it was just the beginning of July last week. My life has just been, and I'm sure everybody else's is not just mine. It's like, it seems like this pandemic's gone on forever. And then I turn around and think, where's the last 5 months gone? It's been 5 and 6 months already. So time's flying by.
All right, so it sounds like consensus is to do a special town meeting. Do we want to stick with the 29th? Do you want to give us another week to get stuff done and move to the 5th? I wouldn't want to go any later than that, because 30 days later is the presidential election. So,
Well, what would we gain for another? It's like a huge amount of time right now, but what would we gain for another week, do you think?
I don't know if it'd just be time to get education done, because we still have to do a public hearing. Planning board has to. And then I don't know what you guys want to do, for education. Joel had mentioned doing some stuff in the parking lot, the town office. We talked about maybe making a couple of videos and a couple of sections of code, 5-minute videos to put out there. All that's going to take a little time to get together. So I don't think any of that would happen tomorrow. And today's already the 17th, so.
I think that I like the idea of having a drop-in question and answer, approach. And I think we know there are people who have contacted the board with concerns. I think we would probably want to invite people who have specific questions, maybe even to set an appointment at that pop-up location to talk with a couple of us to go through what their concerns are and what the code says, and invite anyone else, to either stop by or also to make an appointment. I think that would be a really good way to get started, because thinking about what kind of materials we need to create, we could go in lots of different directions. We have in our previous efforts, we've gone the highly detailed approach to a presentation, to the broad overview, and it doesn't feel like we've ever hit it. So I think if we try to start with getting people to come and ask questions and walk them through it, that might tell us what we need to get out to the broader audience.
Yeah, I agree with Rob. I think if we had that recorded, so that when we get I think it would be by appointment, and there would be at least 2 members of the, or 2 representatives. So, maybe a selectman and a committee member from the planning committee, like, somebody like Rem, somebody that knows the code And then, record the question and then circulate that to the selectmen as we, sort of run through that presentation to give a summary of it. But I think the ground game is just that to, have one-on-one meetings with or two-on-one meetings with the people that have questions, have issues, concerns, and try to, I guess, help them understand what we're doing or what the new code is.
So would you want to set something over maybe the course of 2 weeks to have people set up appointments and?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
I think we have a couple people, that have voiced concerns already. We've gotten the letters from them, and I'd like to respond, but like I said, I didn't want to speak as Joel Lind Selectman or Joel Lind. I wanted to, speak as the board. And so I think, if we've decided, when we decide on exactly what we're going to do moving forward as far as the type of vote, time of vote, and how that's going to work, I think it'll give us a better dialogue to have with those people. And, just also kind of explain the reality that it's, it's an amendable situation by the same manner that it could be adopted, which is a pretty simple process. Doesn't take much to modify it if something becomes problematic or sticky and just doesn't work or make sense. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to come up with a common sense code, something that really, is tailored to Newcastle. So it's going to need to evolve with the town as well.
If we go to the consensus and if we stick with September 29th, that Tuesday, as a special town meeting, the public hearing would be the 17th of September. That's the planning board meeting. So we probably want to do the education sometime between.
The meeting's on Monday. You said Tuesday?
Well, we have the 29th, which was a Tuesday.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking. Sorry. Yep. Gotcha.
I think we picked Tuesday 29th originally because we were thinking about doing a referendum question. So.
Yep.
But if we go, the 17th is the public hearing at the planning board. That gives us what, we won't count this week, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks to do some education. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to take a little bit to have people call in and make appointments. I'll have to schedule out with staff in the office to give her what, whoever's going to volunteer to do these, what their timetable's like and when, some times and dates around appointments.
Yeah, I mean, the way in my mind, I see a tent out or a pop-up tent out on the front parking lot in front of the town office. Table with the existing land use ordinance and the new proposed code, and some chairs. Then we make appointments. I'm willing to sit out there for a couple of hours, on a Saturday to, see if anybody, if there's any walk-ins. I think that would be nice to offer people, a walk-in response. But I think it needs to be, managed in some manner because of COVID. And, I think we have to arrange for two of us to, like I said, I think it's important to have a couple members there just so that we can check each other, and I guess, everybody hears things differently. So I think it would be helpful to have backup, basically.
No, that makes sense to me. So you want to do a combination of both? So you want to set up some appointments? Is that the consensus? And then also do a couple hours on a Saturday for drop-ins?
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
So
I I
Go ahead.
will say on the weekends, not that I'm around a lot of weekends, but it seems like the Shuck Station's pretty busy and they have music. I think that's usually Sunday, but sometimes Saturday. But when I go by on the weekends, the parking spaces for the town hall are pretty filled up. And I think it's either people walking into town, parking there and walking into town, or they're parking there and, you know, going to eat or whatever. So just something to keep in mind that I don't know. It
Maybe
seems
late-
like that parking area has been kind of busy lately,
You
which
think
is good. I'm glad to see people.
maybe mid-morning rather than afternoon.
Yeah, maybe something like that, 10 to noon or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Or 11
That
to
might
12, something like that.
that might work better. Yeah.
You have a Saturday in mind? If you look at your calendars.
I mean, I'm probably going to be available the 29th to do something this coming Saturday. I'm not going to be around, and then, you know, when I'm not working, I'm just painting my house. So, yeah,
Yep.
I'm pretty free. I can do it. I can do a coat, come back, and then do another coat. So 2 hours in between, let it dry.
There's one for the 29th. Do we want to do a couple Saturdays we do this on?
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
the question would be whether it's too early to get the word out for this Saturday. But otherwise, I would say let's try to get started this Saturday.
Mhm.
If we could maybe get something in the paper, ask John to put something in the paper for this week, and start this Saturday. I'm available. So,
Yeah.
I'm out of town Saturday, so.
but I think the sooner, you know, I think part of this, as I say, I think is kind of I'm really curious to hear what we hear.
Right.
So we know kind of what we're up against and what people, you know, need more information on.
Well, aside from public, you know, a public note, I think that would be good in the paper. You know, we should reach out to the people that have sent letters to the BOS
Mhm.
and start there, and tell them what's going on.
And do we still have, we had an email list from the This is Newcastle effort. We presumably still have that. Maybe we can get communication out to that list.
Yep.
Yeah, we can do that.
And we could set up. I mean, we have to look at noise a little bit, but we could almost set up in front of the, you know, in front, sort of where the
Right.
Historical Society is. And
Wait, but-
we'd have good visibility there. People, I mean, the Veterans Park has been used more, I think, this year than combined history for different public outreach efforts of different people. And so people are always looking and they're asking questions. I mean, it's like, you know, I was in town the other day and some guy walked through with a sign that I didn't understand and I just asked him. I was like, what? So I'm just trying to figure out where you're coming at with this. And he was plenty happy to talk about it. I mean, I think people are definitely, they see something they don't understand, they'll ask questions. So what's this tent going on out here? Who's camping out, you know? I don't know. I think we get a good response.
All right. Yeah, then we don't have to worry about the parking on the other side.
Yeah.
People parking in it. So. All right. So Rob, you're going to try to put something together for this? You want to really
Sure.
do this Saturday? You're going to be able to. I think we've got one large map. We've got copies of the codes.
I've got a pop-up tent that I can just leave at town office and we can use for that.
Yeah, I'll see if maybe I'll see if Rem's available, or you know, reach out to the other members of the committee and see if anyone else is available then.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Mhm.
I might ask John if it'd be possible to get, I mean, I think it'd be nice to have maybe a large format print copy of the code. So you don't have to, if you're looking at it with someone, you don't have to have your faces right together. But if we had large format paper printed copies that we can flip through and look at, that might be really helpful.
Or Rob, how about just, you know, a couple of copies? You know what I mean? So
Yeah, that's true. Right. Sure.
you
That's
know,
true.
you can just say, you know, let's look at page one, you know, at
Very good
85.
point.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
and then read through it.
So I got a text from Michelle. She tried to text you, Brian. I guess you didn't get it, but she said it's too late to advertise for the paper this week.
Oh, okay.
So that's not happening, but we can still do it. I mean, I mean, there's probably 100 people watching this right now, you know, all over the world.
Yeah.
I don't know what,
YouTube following.
Joel, I have to say, when I was just watching them,
Yeah.
the viewer counts were not in the hundreds.
No, thousands, man, thousands. We're in the thousands.
You
Yeah.
sure? Thought everybody in town was watching.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I think just something new. People tend to notice it, and they
Right.
have questions. We can even set up a quick little sandwich board thing that just says what it is.
Right. And I think that, again, if we get an email out to the This is Newcastle list, that'll start to generate some interest.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think it's worth a try this Saturday and get started.
If we reach 10 people and they're sort of intrigued by the idea and we educate them and whatever, I think I call that a success. You know, anyone that you can you know, spark that interest in I think is important. That's what drew me in. I came in to pay taxes, and late, I will say, and I saw the sign for this committee that was starting up, and they were looking for members, and it was about forming a new land use code. And I said, "Wow, whatever, that'd be kind of fun." And
The rest is history.
the rest is history. But you know, I think that's the thing. It's just sparks people's interests, and that's what we're trying to do. Reach out to whoever wants to. We're not trying to jam anything down people's throats. We're just trying to let people know what we're doing.
Right.
So should the clerks or John or some town administration be the clearinghouse for arranging meetings? I'm just wondering how we do that.
Well, the Saturdays you want it to be drop-ins, right?
Yeah, right. I think that's true. I think there's also, if it doesn't work, you know, for a Saturday for somebody, you know, I'm available during the week, and then I think it would just be a matter of trying to pick up somebody else that we can run over and meet with somebody. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe John's got an idea on that, but you know, maybe he gets the calls and the emails, and then we, you know, puts it out there, and we try to arrange something.
So if you come up with dates, that you'd be dates and times that people are available, we could put that out there, so then we can ask people to call in. Then the office staff has some idea of when to schedule things.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, maybe that's a good idea to select a few days during the week, and then who's available, and then leave it to the town to try to fit somebody into that schedule. Does that make sense?
I mean, we could do it. We could do a doodle poll and have that open, you know, put our information in there and then have that open to the town office that then they can kind of fit into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would work. Do you guys want to do those appointments one-on-one, or you want to do those still with a member of the zoning committee?
I think 2-on-1 is good. Just at least that way. The only thing I'm afraid of is that if I sit down with somebody and they say, "Well, Joel said I could do this and this and this," maybe I did. You know what I mean? Maybe I told you could do all these things. I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? Go ahead, build it. Yeah, you can build a Ferris wheel right there. I don't care. You know. But I think it's good to have at least 2 people so that it doesn't become a thing where it's like, well, Joel said I could do this or this or this, or they said I couldn't do this. And then after each meeting, we just write a brief summary as to what we went over and send it to the rest of the board. So the rest of the board knows that, like, this person had this concern. This is what, we talked about, and these are some possible solutions we discussed. And that's the whole thing. Because I think, obviously with this tight timeline, we're not making big changes to anything right now. We're just explaining what we've got and explaining the fact that, if these things become problematic or there's something that was overlooked, that it's an easy enough process to change, and that there's, the tools are there for anyone to make anything that's reasonable work in the town. And that's what I think is really cool about this code, is that everything was thought through, very, very thoroughly. And so if it was thought through too thoroughly in one thing, or it didn't allow one, a certain thing to happen, it can be tweaked. So that's the message that I think it's good to talk about on that 2-on-1 sort of thing.
Brian, I'm usually available, midday, 12 to, lunchtime, 12 to 1. Maybe we could do Tuesdays and Thursdays, 12 to 1, something like that. And then we'd have Saturdays. If we did that for a couple of weeks, then we'd have, at least 6 meetings or 6 opportunities, total of, what's that, total of 8 hours, over the course of a couple of weeks to meet with people, that are interested to talk in detail about things.
What time did you say, Tor?
I'm thinking like lunchtime, like a lunch hour, 12 to 1.
Yep. We can
So
ask-
I'm
ahead.
not available. I'm not available Monday through Friday, obviously. And my weekends for the next few weekends are pretty tied up. I've got a lot of stuff I got to get done at my other house before fall and winter set in. But I am available like after work. So I don't know. And I know Ellen works too. We both work at. I don't know if that's something that maybe we could do. A couple of nights. Offer a couple of nights. At 5 to 6 or something. To have people stop in after work. So that's an option too.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys thinking the midday appointments, to those live or just do like a conference call or something?
That's not a good question. I think it really helps to be able to come through the code and point to things, because that's really what it comes down to, is the language. So, and the charts, I think that would be hard to do on the telephone. Maybe a Zoom call, but that could be problematic too.
Yeah.
I think the first choice would be to get, have all these things at our pop-up tent with our materials at hand.
All right. So we got some tentative schedules for Tor and Wanda, and Rob and Joel, you're going to take on a Saturday each.
Yeah.
If we can find a second person for both of you.
Yep.
So maybe Ben or Ram or Ellen or Kevin.
Yeah.
Might join in.
And I can, often be available either, midday or at the end of the day as well, so, as we fill in the pieces, I can probably help there too.
John's texting me, so. All right. Well, that'd be good, yeah. So we'll just give those times now. I'll get those to John tomorrow. Or Michelle's probably writing them down now. And we'll start with that.
Why did it
Right.
disappear? Oh.
All right.
Sorry,
All right.
my phone rang and I disappeared. Sorry,
That's okay. All
I
right.
forgot to mute.
All right. So to recap, we're going to do this Saturday. Rob's going to take that on. Joel's going to do the 29th. Maybe if we need to, we could throw another Saturday in there somewhere between now and the public hearing. We're gonna do appointments. Tori's gonna do Tuesdays and Thursdays, noon to 1. Wanda's thinking she can do a night maybe or two from 5 to 6, and Rob's thinking do some daytime stuff.
And I can fill in on either end of the day if there's someone that, you know, early mornings and late afternoons are good for me. I'm working in Waldoboro right now, so I'm a bit of a haul from town,
Right.
but I'm always available. So for something.
House painting. I could use my kitchen done.
That's what I'm doing right now. I'm doing everything.
All right. And we're going to use the parking lot in front of the Historical Society.
Yep.
On that side. Public hearing be the 17th. We'll plan to do a special town meeting on the 29th, Tuesday, 29th.
Yep.
We did have from Michelle, Bobby Foster offered to let us use his place.
I think
And we could use the field at GSP, I believe, and we haven't heard back from Lincoln. So Bobby's might be a good place to do it because he's got the tent set up already. And he's got chairs in it.
And a big parking lot.
in a big parking
It's a
lot.
big parking lot.
Yeah, I think that's a generous offer.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, we might even be able to use the sound system, he said, so
wow.
depending on weather, so. So maybe we can do that, let him know that if he's willing to have us, we'll do the 29th. What time you guys want to do it on the 29th? 6, 7? It's gonna be a little darker early.
Right.
I don't know if there's any lighting out there, so.
I would say earlier would, you know, on the earlier side would be good.
Yeah.
6 would be as late as I think we want to really start then.
Yeah.
29, 6 p.m. All right. I think we've got most of this done. Do we want to just do everything live, not worry about doing any recordings
For
for like,
Well-
you know, for the people that can't come in, if we'd have a couple things, you
Well-
know, you could actually use Zoom like this and do the recording and it all goes to YouTube. You know, so I think just a voiceover with the PowerPoint, or even when you say a PowerPoint, the live code, you could take maybe a section in one video, you know, say rural and then commercial or village, you know, lay it out and just do some quick ones.
I'm inclined to think that if we talk to, get a week of talking to people, that'll tell us how to do those.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure which way to go with that. That's going to really be helpful to people. So I'm hoping that we hear, some interesting questions like that'll help us figure out what we need to get, what education we need out there.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know if just something basic on like one of the sections that would, this is rural and how the
Right.
section works. Don't get in depth in it, but at least then people have an idea. Oh, that's rural and that's a section I need. And now I have an understanding how to read it.
Right. That's true.
So-
Yeah.
I hate to see them get confused if they read, like Joel said earlier, if they read the whole thing and they're confusing zones, you know, in their mind. So go ahead, Joel. Didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just gonna say, first of all, I definitely do not volunteer myself for producing something like that. So I'm stepping out of that one. I'll do the live stuff, but yeah, I'm not gonna do anything like that. And then the other thing I wanted to just sort of mention with that venue, if it works out, I mean, it sounds like we've sort of decided on Foster's because it was offered to us, and so we can start that planning. But we should also do a little bit of looking into a couple of things as far as method of voting. I think that the clickers that we have would probably work in that setting. And I think, just doing some tests with it would be a good thing just to make sure that everything's going to work, and we could do some ranges and maybe set that up and see how that works. And then also figuring out an FM transmitter so that if people were in their cars and didn't feel comfortable going, they could actually, it would give us more opportunity to get beyond the 50 people that that Robert Foster said could fit in the tent spaced out. So
Oh, he has 50 chairs. But it doesn't
cheers.
mean if we've got if we're able to use his PA system, we could have people outside of that section because you've got
Right.
100 people within 20,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So we could always go beyond that.
I wanted to fuzz out everyone's radio as they drove by too. That was the other
Right.
side effect.
Who had the equipment that they just did the drive-in movie Saturday night?
They're,
In the
are they
paper.
just they're doing that on Thursday, right?
It's a Thursday. But in the paper, it said somebody had the transmitter for the cars. I forget who it
Yeah.
was.
I think John Roberts was one of the organizers, so we could ask him.
We can ask John.
Yeah.
And maybe we could borrow it for that.
Yeah.
You know?
I was just thinking, just making it as accessible to everybody, because I know that different people have different concerns and different needs, and I just want to make sure that, obviously you got to be here and you got to live in town and you've got to be around to participate, but and again, we're talking a little bit of time ahead, so it might be a different feeling as far as safety at that point. So I just like to have those sort of precautions.
Could be worse.
Yep.
I'm going to expect it to be worse by the end of September than better.
Maybe not. I don't know.
All right. So I guess the only other question is the article question. It was rewritten.
Right.
You guys all have the one Ben sent,
Yeah.
which
And
breaks
as I
down
said-
better than the first one. The first question did, I believe, but
As I said before, it's simpler and more complicated.
Right.
But I think it's much clearer. I mean, I think it is very clear about just what exactly we're asking.
Well, and I think being a special town meeting, you get to explain why it's written the way it's written too, versus just trying to read it and going, what? What is that? Which was
Yeah.
my first thought. I thought, what are we trying to say here? And I know a little bit of, I've heard some of this, so I think at least we'll be able to explain to them what it is. So
Yeah.
Hopefully that will help.
all right. So you guys think that question is good as written?
I think the one we got subsequently, yeah.
Yeah, not the first one. That was just like a big paragraph. That was. All right. Anything else we're missing?
Do we need to move that we are going to go with that language and
Yep.
put that on the warrant?
You can
So I'll
vote
make that
on
motion.
the Yep.
Make
Need
that
to vote on
motion.
the question, and we need to vote on the 29th.
Yeah.
So let's start with the question. A motion for the question.
So I'll move that we put the question as written in the draft sent by Ben.
Do
Put on the
you want
special
to
town
read it?
meeting for the 29th.
Do you want to read it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Shall the town enact the core zoning code and the road, driveway, and entrance ordinance, and repeal chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, and 10 of the Newcastle Land Use Ordinance, and convert chapter 6 to the Floodplain Management Ordinance, and convert chapter 8 to the Mobile Home Parks Ordinance, and convert chapter 11 to the Shoreland Ordinance, and convert chapter 12, section A to the Erosion and Sediment Control Ordinance, and convert chapter 12, section B to the Stormwater Management Ordinance, and convert chapter 13, section I to the Archaeological Sites Ordinance, and convert chapter 13, section O to the Tower Ordinance, and repeal chapter 13, sections A through H, sections J through N, and section P and convert Chapter 14, Section K to the seasonal conversion ordinance, and repeal Chapter 14, Sections A through J and Section L, effective January 1st, 2021.
Question mark.
Did that pop up on my share? Make sure I got the right screen.
Yes,
Did.
So do we have to pick an enactment date, effective date?
It's on there, January 1st, 2021.
Okay. I mean, it was a question mark, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, unless you guys want to go a little later. I don't want to go any earlier than that. Well, that,
No.
if it's, say, October 1,
I think the
that's 2 months.
question mark is because it's a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a question. But we could change the date, but that gives us 2 months from the 30th, so.
Seems good.
I think it's good.
So we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Joel. All right, all in favor?
Yep.
Passes by nothing. All right, then I need a motion just to set up a special town meeting for September 29th at 6 PM.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, to be determined. All right, thank you. Discussion? All in favor? That passes by nothing. All right, so September 29th, 6 o'clock. Michelle, if you can reach out to Mr. Foster and verify that, that'd be great. Otherwise, anybody have any other business? Look at that. It's only 10 of 8.
So I've got a folding table and I've got a pop-up tent that I can
Great.
just leave at town office and we'll, set it in there and figure it out. But yeah, so that's a good size for doing the thing, and maybe we can work on a sandwich board or something to just let people know what we're doing.
You wanna let me, when you're going over to set that up, Joel, I'll go over there with you.
What's that?
I'll help you set up the tent so you don't have to bug the admin.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll just set it. I mean, I'll have it. It's just a pop up, just like one of those like easy up tents.
Oh yeah.
So I can if you're doing it on Saturday, I can just show you how it works. It's pretty
Yeah,
simple.
okay. It's expandable, kind of like an accordion.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, great. I guess we're good then. I won't be around Saturday, so good luck, Rob.
Thanks.
That I just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All right. All in favor? All right. Good night, guys.
Night.
Okay,
Good night.
thanks. Good night.